focus on the trail heel.
Got it.
And from P5 all the way to P9, which is the finish, you're going to let the heel, the trail heel, spin away. Exactly. Yep. Excellent. And this is really cool. Stay right there for us. His toes look this way right now.
Yes.
He landed, you're landing almost feeling like the pressure of the pinky toe.
Yeah.
Right? So it looks more that way.
Right, and that's the go-to pattern, right?
Yes, exactly. We got leg and foot action today, which is actually a pretty fun one. To be honest, it's something that we don't really talk a lot about. No. But it's kind of fun because it is talked about in coaching, but it also, if you understand kind of what your feet and what your legs should be doing, it can help really facilitate what the pelvis should be doing. And I think there's some really common misconceptions about what the legs and the feet are doing in the golf swing.
Okay.
And so we have these like really bad maps, really bad pictures of what our legs should do, and it just totally screws up any chance of like moving the pelvis well, moving the ribs well. It's just all blown out of proportion. Hogan talked about from the feet up.
You did.
So let's go with the feet first. A couple of drills out there. We see this one. Actually, go back to neutral if you could. Okay, lift up your the outstep right here in the ball of your foot. Okay. Okay, from right there. Try not to put pressure on that ball in the backswing. Okay, and then in the forward swing, start to roll off of that so you roll on the instep here. This is my least favorite drill of all time. As soon as you roll that way, what happened to the trail hip?
Went that direction.
Exactly, and we're gonna rotate at some point. So what you just did with that movement is you moved the pelvis laterally. So there's lateral slide.
Okay.
See how that rolls onto the instep?
Yeah. Yep, I've heard that before. I've heard it called banking.
Yep.
That look right there.
Yep, exactly. If we go to just basic human movement, Goda would barf everywhere.
Why is that?
Well, because one of their key, I don't know if it's a global principle, but they want inside ankle bones high. So we got ankle bone here, that's the inside ankle bone. And then we got the ankle bone here. This is the outside ankle bone.
Got it.
Good human movement, proper human movement when it comes to Goda, to move forward and start to pressure off this back foot. My heel spun away, and the inside ankle bone gets higher when I do that. Okay, poor gait pattern would be this guy. So as I'm starting to push forward, they would spin this femur external, and then as they push, now this inside ankle bone goes low. When it comes to that trail foot, the heel should actually spin away. Okay. And as we start to move our way up, Hogan, from the feet up, like go to the top again for me. Just staying in this trail side, as you start to get into delivery, okay, from right there, as you start to move forward now into impact, let this trail heel start to spin away. And there you go, and now what will happen, see how this knee, this trail knee, stays underneath you. So the shape of this femur is almost vertical, but what it'll also allow you to do as this starts to work internal more and more, look at where your sacrum's starting to go.
Swiveling back behind me.
It keeps going that way.
Okay.
Exactly. Go back up to the top for us. Now we'll go the wrong way, right? So as you're banking and starting to work in that, there you go, excellent. See where this trail hip starts to go? It starts to go laterally. If you keep banking and work into impact, look at how the pelvis just keeps working into extension. We've got dual hip extension coming this way.
Yep.
Doesn't feel good either.
Doesn't feel too good.
Where'd you feel that?
A lot of pressure on like the low back.
Exactly, right? Exactly. Because what it does is it shoots, as soon as our pelvis starts to shoot forward this way, that's all extension in the lumbar.
Okay.
And obviously we're going to rotate at the same time. So we've got lumbar extension and rotation.
It's kind of a bad combo.
Horrible, right? You're creating all kinds of pressure back there, and a lot of low back injuries in our game. Most of them are due to inflammation. That is the pattern that creates inflammation in the low back.
That just repetitive extension.
Lumbar extension paired with rotation.
Yep.
Injury riddled central.
Can already feel it here like a little.
Yeah, you're like, I like that. Yeah, and that's because you know how to move well.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Folks that just go into like, that is my pattern of like that move right there is a pronation move in the foot. Like what should actually happen is a supination move. Supination is that way, okay, in the foot, and what that makes the inside ankle bone do
Kicks
is
out high.
rise. It's high, right? The outside ankle bone is lower than the inside ankle bone is. That's beautiful look. And there's a ton of drills out there that, quite frankly, I just disagree with. Like you'll see a water bottle being put out here. So if I spin that way, then no good. I would knock that over. So it actually promotes that kind of a look. It's a pretty poor exercise if you're looking to get more into like a flexion rotation type of pattern, which is what we definitely prefer to see.
Agreed. Yep.
So that's trail foot stuff. Got into a little bit of the leg action. We might come back into the trail leg.
Okay.
But let's go to the lead foot now.
Okay.
Okay. So if we swing it back up to the top again. Okay. What will eventually happen, like TJ, let's show long drive pattern. So big upper spiral. There you go. So see right there what already happened is this heel spun towards the target, which is exactly what happened over here in the trail foot complex, but it's later.
Yeah.
Okay. That trail heel spun towards the target. That's just because the spiral line, the upper spiral line, leaks down into the lower spiral line, which is all through TJ's IT band. And if that keeps stretching, what it does is it just pulls. There you go. So there's the heel going. Inside ankle bone low, outside ankle bone high.
Got it. Okay.
So when we see the pressure in a lot of our favorite movers go from P1 all the way to P5, big upper spiral, now P5, so that will plant. See how the heel actually planted closer to the target than where it originally started.
Agreed.
We see that in Rory McIlroy, we see that in Cameron Champ, we see that in like numerous great movers. Okay, so one of the drills that personally, again, I dislike is this drill. You see like a basket in here or a med ball.
Seen that many times.
Okay, so I'll be here, med ball's slick. So if I swing to the top, and then now I'm trying to drop that med ball, what I just did is dual external rotation of the femurs.
Okay.
Meaning my femur is rotating this way, this femur is rotating that way. So what it's promoting, if this just kept going like if I were in an ice skating rink with that look, it would promote that action there.
So the foot spins in that direction.
The foot is spinning in the opposite direction, which is funny because from right here at the top, like from P4, if I go basket drill, it looks like it's what we want the sacrum to do, which the sacrum goes that way, but it's early sacrum move away, so that now from here, as I go this way, the only way to get forward is to extend the pelvis.
I see.
So now I'm going to have extension through the strike, so the sacrum is going towards the target.
So that's interesting. When people hear our sacrum move, sometimes I've seen this in some students attempting it on their first go around.
Yep.
Is I see them try to do it like super early.
And see what just happened there. So we have early supination.
Okay.
Now you can do that. That's not bad. It's not that you can't do that.
Okay.
Because you can still have, in our system, good movement patterns there as long as you can get the ribs way up here. And typically what happens like when doing that is we're going to have the same type of landing, if you will. It's difficult to see with like especially sometimes even long irons, but like mid irons on down through wedges, you won't see that because the spiral isn't stretching enough to really make this heel flash like we're talking about.
Yeah.
Driver, it's a bigger wave, bigger
you
range
see
of
it
motion.
a little bit.
So you see it more.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you don't see Rory do that with 9-iron, but you
Okay.
see him do it with driver.
And that's just due to how much energy they carry into that upper spiral, right?
Yep. And if the energy keeps going wave-like, then it's going to continue to move. It's just like if I push somebody in a swing set, if I push them with that much energy, they're going to swing, slow, stop, and then come back this way. If I push them with that much energy, they're going to swing, slow, stop. So it's a bigger range of motion. It's not
Got
like
it.
I just put energy in and then it stops up here.
Understood.
That's wave-like. So again, when it comes to that lead foot, how it's planting, all the way again from P1 to P5, go ahead and show this. Okay, boom, there's the lead foot planting closer to the target, and the sacrum is at its furthest point towards the target that it ever will be in the golf swing.
Okay.
Because now from here, if we go up into the pelvic region, as TJ starts to rotate, now the sacrum can really work away. Let's actually show that from posterior view, so go ahead and face me. And here we can actually see better with the heel, so let's see, huge upper spiral, boom, and plant. There you go. So there's all the way to P5, so this is the furthest this point will be in space. Now go from P5 to P7, which is impact. Boom. And you'll see now that sacrum really busted away. Okay? That's the preferred pattern.
Got it.
That's Victor Hovland.
Yeah, right. That's what we see him do really
He's
well.
one of my favorites.
Right? He moves great.
Moves beautifully. So the other thing that I think would be really good to talk about is this lead femur and how it moves in the swing. So go ahead and start at P1. Okay, and then go all the way to P3 for me. Good. Now if you just make the transition from P3 to P5, there you go. This actually, the femur stays internally rotated, and now as you keep rotating more, this is going to go more into internal rotation.
The femur itself.
Yes.
Okay.
Which sounds ridiculous, because if we just had like a point in space sticking out of the kneecap, you'll see this point in space continue to go this way more and more. So you go, well, that's external rotation. No.
Okay. Why is that?
Because it's relative to where our midline is pointed. And we have like all these different, like the midline, we could think of it in like the sternum, but we could also think of it like where the belt buckle is pointed. So this would be a good way to look at this. So right now, my kneecap is pointed on kind of that angle right there, and everybody's is a little bit different, right? It's about right there.
Okay.
And my belt buckle is pointing right towards the camera.
Got it.
Okay, so as I move into it, like drop and start to work into P5, see where the belt buckle is pointed? See where this is pointed?
Yep.
So now as I start to drop and turn, look at where the belt buckle points now.
Yeah.
Okay, it's pointing straight towards the camera.
Okay.
And the knee is almost pointed straight where it was at the address position.
Got it.
Now as I continue to rotate the pelvis, now all of a sudden my belt buckle is pointing over here.
It's past where that knee is initially at address. It actually goes this way.
Exactly. So it's pointed, this is really easy, hip socket, so perpendicular to that is here. Well, where's your knee pointing? Good. So it is internally rotated when thinking of
The midline.
the midline when it comes to the pelvis.
Okay. Got it.
So the lead femur is continually working into internal rotation from P4 all the way to P9, which is finish.
And that creates a little bit of that stretch, right?
Well, it's just a load.
Just a load,
Yeah,
right.
it's just part of the spiral line.
Okay.
Okay, so, but again, one of the, like that ball drill that I showed earlier, this drops, that's externally rotating.
Sure.
That's not good human movement,
No.
right?
Understood.
And there's part of golf swing that's not great human movement, like the finish position is an extension position, which is
Sure.
can be harder on certain joints, but at the end of the day, we're floating to that position, right? There's not a hard, like, muscle activation, fascial activation, lots of pressure there. You're floating up to the top, right?
So just to be clear about this lead knee, you will see it work this way,
Yep,
just not actively working that way, correct?
it is passively working that way.
Okay.
And it works that way because the pelvis's rotation makes it eventually go.
So it's not something you want to try to do from the top independently of everything else.
Not in our system, not
It's
in
going to
ours.
happen as a result of how you're
There you go.
moving
Exactly.
the upper spiral. Okay.
And the other thing that we see too when it comes to leg action is we hear this like ground reaction force. People are pushing off the ground.
Hear it often, yes.
Okay, you can push off the ground.
Okay.
And there's probably pros out there that feel push off the ground. But you don't have to push off the ground in order to go into leg extension.
Okay. Got
Okay,
it.
so often like there's golf posture, so I have some sort of flexion in the knees.
Okay.
Like this is more flexion, this is less flexion, so that's extension. So I don't need to actively feel this
Okay. Through the strike.
through the strike.
Okay.
Okay, you can, but you don't have to. Because again, that picture, that map in your mind, can be super detrimental, because if I'm only thinking about extension, I'm not really rotating in my mind at all now, am I?
Yeah, yeah.
So the golf club is going to, with that type of a pattern, flash faster. And that leaks into extension here and here and here, everywhere. It just goes through the entire map of the body. So knee extension is going to leak into hip extension, going to leak into spine extension. Those are anti-rotation maps.
Yeah, that's a pattern I even got myself into in the past. Like,
Yeah.
kind of an actively trying to push or jump off the lead foot, creating all that extension, and the face flashes like crazy when that happens.
And the problem with this is, like, sometimes for a very short period of time, it's like this piece of tape that I just, like, okay, I held it together, and it worked for a short period of time, and then that call to action doesn't work anymore, and it actually creates massive problems in the swing. And I think that sometimes is the problem with us as coaches, is we're giving every word, every phrase that we say is a map.
Yes.
It's a map. It's a map. So this is why we like systems approaches, because you can see why this moves, again, passively, and you can go all the way to the chain of event of, like, what actively was, like, the map that made everything else move. So if we can say something in one phrase, move this way, and it makes 17 things passively respond properly, ooh.
That'd be a pretty good map.
That's a much better map than you need to do this and this and this. These are all active things, cognitive things that I'm having to do.
It's just hard to hold that many things in your brain when you're
It is, and then inevitably what happens is it goes clunk, 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 so you can get all the pretty positions.
Positional, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Gotcha.
exactly. So let's go back to this lead knee.
Sure.
Because it's really pretty cool. So let's go from P1 to P3. Good, so no more flexion in it. If anything, you might have a little bit of extension in this lead knee.
So it honestly works this way a little?
Exactly, and the reason that happens is, if you go back to P1, we've got the ribs go laterally, they bend and turn. So this upper spiral is pulling up, back, and away, and it pulls on the lower spiral.
And that just feels like almost straight now, like I've lost some of that bend.
But to do that, you didn't go push off the ground.
No, I didn't, because that's going to cause some other problems.
Exactly.
Okay,
so go to P3 again. Whoop, finish the backswing. Excellent. So now transition is going to be where the momentum of the golf club is going to keep going up, and the ribs start to now work back here. Ooh, now we have more flexion in this lead knee than we started. But that's because the rib system moved up here. The sacrum is its fullest forward point. So now, if this spiral, because you've got this spiral loaded now, if it starts to pull up, back, and away, the sacrum moves away, and look at what the leg responded like. So
Lots
now
of
we're going to
extension
the
there,
knee
huh?
extension. Yeah.
That there was zero push off the ground.
No.
Yeah.
So if
it just
move
happened as a result of that spiral pulling back in this direction. Like, it has to move that way.
Exactly.
You can't maintain that and move
Exactly.
that. Okay, understood.
Exactly. So those are better maps, and this is why we don't talk about leg action all that often, because if the pelvis system moves well, and the rib system moves well,
Then the legs tend to follow.
the legs tend to follow correctly, and the feet tend to follow correctly. But if we have these unconscious maps of, like, this foot works here, the whole system doesn't work together well.
I know there's many people that have that unconscious map, whether it's they saw the drill somewhere, they saw a video, and I've spent time doing the same drill myself, where I was trying to bank off that inner foot, right? I think everybody has at some point tried these things. So it's nice to go back and kind of clean that map up and go, okay, maybe we don't actually need this.
100%. And for folks like watching this, these little pieces of the roadmap will help facilitate the things that you're trying to do in your pelvis and your rib system. Okay, so let's go, like, how to actually apply this, like, for actual swings.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so let's go ahead and hit a few here, Tej.
Sure.
And the first one that I want you to do, this is going to be a low rate of energy here, but we're going to focus on the trail heel.
Got it.
And from P5 all the way to P9, which is the finish, you're going to let the heel, the trail heel, spin away. Exactly. Yep. So a 60%er. Boom. Excellent. And this is really cool. Stay right there for us. Notice how there is, like, his toes look this way right now.
Yes.
He landed, you're landing almost feeling like the pressure of the pinky toe.
Yeah.
Right? So it looks more that way.
Right, and that's the go-to pattern, right?
Yes, exactly. So now we're heels away all day. We're outside edge.
Got it.
Rather than inside edge. So that's an easy way to go about that. Let's hit another one now. And this one will actually be focused on P1 to P5, so the load phase.
Okay.
And this is a big load, but I want you to notice how the lead heel now lands. So at the landing position at P5, the lead heel is going to land closer to the target than it started.
Got it.
Mostly because of the spiral. Boom, there you go. And notice how TJ's showing like a little mock first to kind of get it activated, like a good clear map in his mind. Excellent, beautiful. That's a beautiful way of doing that. Okay. Next one, we can focus on the lead femur.
Okay.
Okay, from all the way into the fully loaded phase. So like as you feel the lead heel plant, where is the femur moving? Is it moving external or internal right there?
You want it to try to feel internal.
Internal.
Yep.
Because of that, that's internal rotation of the femur.
Okay. And femur, again, what point is that for people who don't know?
Yep, femur is this big bone right here.
This bone right here.
From knee to hip. That's
so
the
we
femur.
don't want to feel as we're planting here that the femur goes that way.
Exactly, and a lot of people will focus on the knee. See the knee, where it goes? So you could focus on where that knee is continually pointed at P5, so it's pointing inward,
That's what you're
not
feeling.
external.
That way.
Exactly. And now for some folks, because there's a lot of mobility issues that people have in their hips,
Tons.
you might feel, boom, there's a plant, and now as you turn out of there, you might feel this is a supination action again, supinate and rotate that way.
Yep.
That's fine. You see a lot of guys on tour do that. Where
Yeah,
they'll
this
like
action.
land and then boom, all the way up into the finish, this spits out and rotates away. That's okay.
Yep.
Others like you've got loads of mobility and like this whole like IT band spiral line, glute med.
But I mean, maybe this helps, so it helps. Like when I first started trying this, I did not see that same mobility.
Yep.
And I would see my heel flash in this direction.
Yeah.
Now that there's a little bit more mobility, I've been doing the pattern for a long time, those things go away eventually.
Start to happen, yeah, exactly. And with big waves,
yeah,
you're probably going to spit that out, especially driver.
For sure. Yeah.
Like you'll see guys like Patrick Reed, he de-weights the lead foot. Like driver, it's in here, and then when he hits it, boom, that happens.
Comes off the ground,
Because all this is working up, back, and away.
And that's fine, because that's just the force being created,
It's fine.
right?
It's just a force, exactly. It's not like he's trying to push off of there again to make that happen. It's just a responsive force.
Got it.
Based on his pattern.
So anyway, to get back to the exercise here, the femur, as I go ahead and land into P5, I want to feel like it works.
There you go. And what's really cool, Teach?
Yeah.
This is the exact look that you had with focused on the lead heel the first time.
Sure.
What's great is it's the same map, but a different way of explaining the map to yourself.
Yeah.
And every single person is going to have a little bit of different way of recognizing the system and feeling the system and visualizing it.
Yeah.
So you could focus femur, knee, feet, heels, pressures.
Yeah.
All that is fine as long as it's like, again, a responsive.
In the system.
Exactly.
Totally.
Yep.
Okay.
So let's show one more with that that lead femur or lead knee. It's kind of all one part of like the same type of system in the legs. Boom. There you go. So this is an internal feel all the way from P1 to P5. Really cool. Okay, last one. Let's go back to the trail side, and we're going to focus on this lead knee. And what I want you to focus on is once we land a P5, as you're rotating all the way through the strike into finish, this knee doesn't get to go forward at all. It's going to, as I start to rotate in my ribs, my pelvis, the whole bit, this knee is going to stay underneath me here. So the knee's kissing. No dice.
Not a good look.
Not
so
a good look.
if I drew kind of an imaginary line just off the
midline, yeah.
mid, do you think that this knee would ever really cross that?
I would like to see it not.
So you'd like to see it more or less work that way?
Exactly. And look at what that heel did.
Spun away. Okay.
Exactly.
So this ain't a very good look in our eyes.
Nope, exactly. Okay. That's knees kissing, right? That's banking like you were talking about.
Yep.
Okay, that's pronation of the foot.
Got it.
All, again, in our eyes, unhealthy patterns.
Understood.
Yep.
So on this one, I'm going to feel my knee never cross that line, even feel like it almost works away from it.
Yep, exactly. And most people, it'll never cross that line like all the way to delivery. Some people will get to the top and then it immediately starts to cross. We don't see that one because that's such an early extension look. But a lot of people will get to delivery and then it starts to float. And
So
again,
drive it through impact here, you'll see that one a lot.
Exactly, and you'll feel it in your pelvis a ton. And look at the spine angle, and you'll feel it here, like that lumbar pressure that you felt before.
So again, that trail knee spinning leaks into pelvis, keeps me more underneath.
Dual hip flexion.
Got it.
Okay, keeps you in a flexion state for longer.
Beautiful.
Okay, so this knee, TJ's knee never passes his midline. There you go, beautiful. Stays underneath him. Beautiful, and look at how that move looks super similar to the first move, then that your trail heel responded beautifully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty sick.
And what's cool too now, like if you're watching PGA Tour players, because there are extension tilt patterns out there, there are flexion rotation patterns. Watching what a person's feet do will help you provide the keys of like what's going on in their pelvis, what's going on in their ribs. I bet you can tell what Scotty Scheffler is now.
Yeah.
Okay?
Sure.
No like disrespect to Scotty Scheffler whatsoever. He's the number one player in the world. He's freaking great, like unbelievable player. You can just tell which end of the spectrum he's on compared to Hovland.
Yep.
Watch his foot action. You'll see a totally different foot action there, and you'll see where they kind of land again in like our spectrum of movement in our systems.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun.
Exactly.
Leg and feet action, baby.
That was a good one.
That was a really good one. Thanks.
Peace.
Ask questions.